Bye. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. We're good.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining session 2 of Mental Skills. We are going to be talking about imagery today. Visualization might be another word that you've heard for imagery. If you were not able to join us last time, no problem. Each session we do, while there will be connections, there will be kind of some threads that go between them. Each session will be kind of a standalone session as well. So I know not everybody was able to make it last week, but if you weren't, it's not a problem at all. Okay, so we're gonna hop right into things. Looks like everybody's got themselves muted that I can see. So if you want to just keep yourself muted until you want to pop in for a question or a comment to contribute, that would be perfect. So we don't get the background noise from your desk or your phone or anything like that. I hope that you girls are willing to participate today. It's a lot more fun when people pop in and are willing to contribute. It makes it a much richer experience, I think, than if it's just me talking. So I hope that you girls are willing to participate today. All right, let's get to it. Going to start with a clip from Brandy Chastain. She is a former U.S. women's national team player who won the World Cup with the USA in 1999. And this is a clip of her talking about her experience with mental skills leading up to that tournament.
Very serious, it's very intense, and it can be overwhelming, and that's why I think some people
reach the highest levels of performance?
Well, I have to say that until we started working with Dr. Hacker, we had no idea how mental skills would impact our lives for the better. We were all about what she was saying. We wanted to be the best physically. We wanted to have good technical ability. We wanted to have the stamina it took to, play those 90 minutes. We needed the agility. And until that 96 time, when we were starting to go to the Olympics for the first time, did we realize that the differentiating factor was none of those things, but it was the mental skills portion of being the best athlete you could be that really would separate us from the rest. And I remember countless fun activities, and I say this word fun because I think
Okay, so just kind of short and sweet there. Dr. Colleen Hacker, she's been working with the men's and women's national teams for quite some time on their mental skills. So it's something that they do. It's something that they've been doing for a long time. And it's kind of cool to hear Brandy Chastain talking about how important she thought it was for their success. I told you I'm a big quotes guy. I'm probably going to throw in at least one quote per session. This is another one that I liked from Wayne Gretzky. He's probably considered by most to be the greatest hockey player of all time on the men's side. And he said, "We taped a lot of famous pictures on the locker room door. Bobby Orr, Potvin, Bolivo, all holding the Stanley Cup. We'd stand back and look at them and envision ourselves doing it. I really believe if you visualize yourself doing something, you can make that image come true. I must have rehearsed it 10,000 times. And when it came true, it was like an electric jolt went up my spine." And there you can see him hoisting his first Stanley Cup there with the Edmonton Oilers. So what is imagery? As a quick definition here, imagery is using all the senses to recreate or create an experience in the mind. And we'll talk more about how we use imagery as we get through the session today. So one of the first breakthrough research experiments they did involving imagery was with a group of downhill skiers. So this group of skiers was preparing for the Olympics, and they were doing some mental skills work with imagery, and some people had the idea, well, let's see if we can test if there's any validity to imagery having an effect. And so what they did was they put some measuring devices on these skiers' legs to measure their muscles as they skied down the hill. And then when they were doing their imagery work, which is where they were visualizing themselves skiing down the hill just in a room sitting down, they had those same sensors on their legs, and they actually found that while the skiers were imagining themselves skiing down the hill their muscles were firing in a way that mirrored how their legs fired when they were actually skiing down the hill. Obviously not to the same degree, but just very minorly, their legs were to some small degree experiencing the act of skiing. Another kind of interesting concept related to imagery is the evolutionary theory of dreams. So the evolutionary dream theory posits that the reason why we dream is because it exposes us to threatening situations that we have to respond to. And then by being exposed to threatening situations that we respond to, it increases our chances of survival. So this isn't necessarily true, it's just a theory, but I think what we can take away from this is that if we experience something in our minds, it helps to prepare us for that thing actually happening. So that's kind of why we do imagery. We try to, if it's before an event, like a training session or a game, we want to be seeing ourselves doing the things that we want to do, because that's going to help set us up to make those things happen in reality. Another way that we can use imagery is recreating an experience. So all of us probably have really great memories associated with soccer, like really good things that we've done. And remembering those things and reliving those experiences of some of your best moments can have a really positive influence on you in terms of your confidence and your motivation. So let's get some interaction right away. And I'm wondering if anybody would be willing to share the best goal they ever scored, and can maybe just walk us through what that was like. What happened and how were you able to score your best goal ever? Anybody want to pop in?
Um, the best goal that I scored, it was like, my teammate, she threw in, like, it was off of like a throw in, and then I got past this girl by like doing a move, and then I like scored with the outside of my foot, and it kind of like twisted inwards and went out to the corner.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a nice goal. Thanks for
Yeah.
popping in and sharing, Gina.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Izzy.
Okay. I think the best goal that I ever scored was it was a one-touch left foot shot, and I just remember that because at the time I wasn't really confident with it, so it's pretty cool to score with my left.
Okay, really cool. So it was kind of special for you because you didn't expect to
Yeah.
score with your left, and then that sticks out for you.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Can we get one more?
Wait, can you hear me?
Yep.
Well, I overlapped and I was playing two, and then I shot it with like the outside of my foot, and it went up in the air and it curled in the upper 90 of the far post.
Ooh, nice. Couple outside of the footers here. Okay, very cool. Did anybody else want to share? Okay, we'll keep moving just for the sake of time. Appreciate you girls who are popping in there and sharing your best goal. So, did I share my screen? I don't think so. Share my screen. There we go. So like I said, recreating or remembering some of the best things that you've done, that's a great way to enhance motivation and increase confidence, right? Because if you're thinking about the things that you've done really well in the past, it's going to give you a boost of confidence. Today, we're going to be talking more about the creating piece of imagery. So just as a simple exercise, I want you all to imagine your next game. And so figure out when that's going to be. Maybe it's this coming weekend, maybe it's in a couple of weeks. Imagine your next game. And so before you start, what I want you to do is kind of just figure out how you're going to get there. Are you going to be driving there? Are you going to be carpooling? Are you going to be with your parents? Kind of imagine that getting there, Imagine the warm up briefly. What's the field going to be like? Are you playing on turf? Are you playing at Health East? Are you playing in Rosemount? What's the field going to be like? That'll kind of set the scene for you. And then I want you to start to think about how you will feel when the whistle blows. So imagine you're starting the game in the position that you play with your team. And I just want you to spend 30 seconds imagining yourself playing in the game. Okay, so I want you to use as many senses as you can. We have 5 senses, and I want you to try to make the experience of you playing in this game as realistic as possible. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking for 30 seconds, and I want you to maybe close your eyes or just find a comfortable place to just sit and try to imagine yourself playing in your next game. Okay, ready? Go ahead. Okay, so I'm going to stop you there. Hopefully you were able to imagine yourself playing in the game. And you don't have to answer this, but just curious, how many senses did you use? Did you use sight? Probably. That's probably the one you were using most. So you probably saw yourself, your teammates, the opponents, maybe some parents or your coach. Did you hear things? Now, this is just in your mind, mind you, but you can still hear and smell and taste and touch things in your mind. So were you hearing people, maybe teammates asking for the ball or your coach's voice? Were you smelling the turf or the grass? Were you able to taste the sweat on your lip? Or I know for me, sometimes there's like a certain taste I get in my mouth when I'm doing exercise. It's kind of like a dry mouth sometimes, especially if I'm working really hard. Were you able to feel the ball or yourself jostling with opponents? Basically, the more senses you can integrate into your visualization or your imagery experience, the more realistic it's going to be, and then the greater impact it's going to have on your performance. Now, most of you, when you were doing your this imagery experience that you just had, you probably either used an external viewing perspective or an internal viewing perspective. So the external viewing perspective is when you watch yourself like you're on TV. So like there's a camera from some distance away and you're seeing yourself like you would if you were being filmed. And the internal viewing perspective is when you're seeing things like it's happening through your own eyes. And there's no right way or wrong way. Some people might have a tendency to see things through their own eyes as they do imagery, and some people might tend to see things like they're being watched on a camera, but there's not a right or a wrong way. But kind of similarly to using as many senses as you can, if you can use both perspectives, so maybe you spend a little bit of time watching yourself like you're on camera and then a little bit of time through your own eyes, then that is going to have a nice effect if you're able to see it both ways. Okay, so I just want to stop for a minute here and just see if there's any questions. So go ahead and pop on if you have any questions or comments. Okay, just want to make sure. All right, so how do we use imagery as a mental skill or a mental training tool? Well, in order to really have it be something that's going to work for us or help you to perform better and more consistently, you need to do it consistently, right? So you should have a system to use in imagery. It's something that you should do before every training session and game. And we're going to talk more about how you create a system. And then eventually it will start to be something that you become more in control of, because when you first start doing it, you may have felt like you weren't really in control of what was happening in your mind. Like maybe you wanted to be seeing yourself doing one thing, but it was just kind of it was uncomfortable because maybe you didn't have a lot of experience doing it. But like with anything else, the more that you do it, the easier it's going to be, and the more control you're going to have, and you're going to be able to really see yourself doing the things that you want to do. So in order for this to be something that works for you, you got to do it over and over again. It's got to be systematic, and then eventually it will become something that's controllable. And once it is controllable, then it will really start to be something that will help you. Okay, so hopefully I've piqued your interest a little bit and you're like, okay, I'm kind of on board here. I think this could be something that could be helpful. So I'm going to try to sell it even more and show you a clip of Mike Camilleri doing some imagery before a hockey game. And then it's accompanied with some highlights of him scoring, I think, at least one goal in the game.
He's visualizing. He's visualizing. Watch this now. Now look at this. I've never seen anything like this. And watch right at the very end, when this is a long one, he's looking right at the spot where he shot the puck. See that? He's you know, I hear guys out there doing their sticks and everything. Isn't that something? Whatever he's doing right. Now look at you looking at that spot again. He got that spot down perfect. You look at, see that? He's getting ready to just snap that puck like that. Bobby did this? Bobby would be in the dressing room. He would not go out. Bobby would be in the afternoon at 2:30 in the afternoon, getting ready for a 7 o'clock game, just like he's getting ready, not quite as early, but Bobby would do the exact same thing. Now watch, it's that spot that he was looking. Watch that spot, boom. And he had another great spot with it before, and see that spot? That's his spot visualizing.
Okay, so basically he was spending a little bit of time before the game kind of anticipating or expecting himself getting the puck in that position, and then he was kind of just going through mentally what he was going to do, how he was going to be snapping his stick to get that good shot off. And then it looked like from the clips in that game, he was able to get the puck there a couple times, score one goal, and then I think he had another shot blocked. But that's kind of the idea there, is if you're able to rehearse some things that you're going to do in the game, then when it happens, when you get in those positions, right, if it's taking a touch and shooting into the bottom corner, or if it's, you know, receiving across your body and playing a good pass forward, you're going to help prime yourself to do those things in the game. Okay, so I won't go through all of these, but again, I'm really trying to sell you on this because I want it to be something that you use. There's a lot of research on imagery and its effectiveness. So I have some research, some sightings here. And you don't need to read them all or anything like that, but I just want you to know that there actually is a lot of research that's been done on the effectiveness of imagery, and it's all been pretty positive. So the research has come back and said, yeah, athletes who engage with imagery and visualization, they end up having positive benefits to that in terms of their performance. Okay, so again, how and when might you use imagery in soccer? There's a lot of different ways. I'm just going to run through a couple here. So you might be trying to create the perfect technique in your mind. So like you're trying to, you're working on your shooting. So you'd be seeing yourself shooting the ball with perfect technique, or passing the ball with perfect technique, receiving the ball, tackling. These are technical things that you might imagine yourself doing. You might also think about using your unique ability. So it might be you're really great at winning headers. So you're going to be imagining yourself winning headers, or you're really fast. So you're going to be seeing yourself just zipping past players on the field. Things like that, whatever is kind of your unique quality. And then another one that we're going to experiment with a little bit today would be creating ideal responses to stressors or adversity. So this is kind of like the evolutionary dream theory concept, where it's how do you respond to bad things? Maybe this is something you haven't thought about before, but it might be beneficial to imagine how you're going to respond when bad stuff happens. So you might spend a little bit of time thinking about, okay, maybe, for example, you're a goalkeeper and you let in a really easy goal. It's one that you should have saved, but it goes off your hands and it goes in the goal. How are you going to respond in that moment? And if you spend a little bit of time beforehand, imagining yourself, okay, confidently grabbing that ball, kicking it up, brushing yourself off, clap of the hands, and staying back in the moment, then I think there's a better chance of that actually happening in the game, as opposed to you maybe having a little bit of a down moment where you get down on yourself. So for field players, it could be missing an open chance or a breakaway, maybe committing a foul that leads to a penalty kick. Maybe it's a mistake that leads to a goal, stuff that we really don't want to have happen. But at the same time, if we can rehearse our response to that and make it a positive response, then when it does, hopefully not, but if it does happen in the game, we're going to be better prepared to deal with that situation. And then the last one here would be just thinking about the joy of winning a game or a tournament like a state cup or a state championship. Just spending a little bit of time imagining what that joy is going to feel like, celebrating with your teammates and your coaches, and probably your parents too, who put so much time and effort into your experience. Just kind of imagining what that would be like and what that would feel like can be an added motivation as you go into an event. Okay, so we're gonna practice with a script. I think we have time to get through one here, and this is gonna be a video with just a gal's voice, and she's gonna walk us through a little soccer imagery experience here. So I think she'll ask you to just get in a comfortable spot and close your eyes, and she's gonna walk you through a scenario which will help give you a good idea of what imagery, what it is, what the experience is like.
Get into a comfortable sitting position. Hands resting in your lap. Take a deep breath in, hold. Take another deep breath in, hold, let it go. Observe your body, be aware, allow the body to relax. Now grab your soccer bag, you're going out to the field, it's just you. You got your cleats on, uniform. The stands are empty, you feel the fall breeze, you smell the changing of the seasons, the leaves. The pitch is beautiful. Notice the look and smell of the freshly mown grass. The sun feels good. You feel energized. The game has started. It's a good physical match. You're exhilarated by the focus and intensity from both your team and the opponents. Your center midfielder gives you a perfect, clean pass. You receive it skillfully, drawing your foot back, opening your hip as you change direction slightly. You note the defender trying to force you inside. You hear your center forward yell, "Take her on." You look at the ball, feel it through the supple leather of your cleats. The defender's on you now. You can feel the physical contact. You feel your shoulder dip as you fake to the inside, drive down the line. Plant your foot, feel your cleat dig into the grass. Look up, think timing, pace. One last glance, there's your left winger making that run to far post. Switch your focus back to the ball now. See it go just past the keeper's reach. The ball's on its way now. You adjust, maintain your balance, look up. There's your teammate airborne. You can see it in the back of the net before it even gets there, and it does, right in the upper right corner. Feel that joy. Celebrate with yourself before you even run to your teammates. You just done exactly the job you needed to do. Now take about 10 seconds to replay that in real time. Feel that joy, the fatigue, the calm. You're suspended in time. Now take a few breaths, relax, open your eyes. That moment will feed many more to come. Your brain cannot distinguish that imagery experience from an actual performance. Nice job.
Okay, so you probably noticed how many senses were involved in that. She talked about smelling the grass, feeling the ball through the supple leather of your cleat, hearing your teammate yell, "Take her on." So that's a really great example. And then I think what's going to be best now is if you are able to create your own version of that story that's more specific to you. So obviously that's a right winger or a 7 in that scenario. There's only a handful of 7s. So if you're a center mid or you're a defender or you're a goalkeeper, how can you create a scenario similar to that that leads to something really good like a goal, but it's specific to you? So that's going to be kind of our first task here with your worksheet. So hopefully you had a chance to print out one of these worksheets for the imagery session. If you didn't, it's not a problem. If you just have some paper and a pencil handy, that'll be just fine. So the first thing here for imagery script creation 1, it says, what is your greatest strength as a soccer player on your team? What do you do well that makes the greatest contribution toward your team being successful? So that might be kind of a starting point to identify. If you were not in the first session, or if you didn't have a chance to view the goal mapping session, this would be a good starting point of what's your greatest strength and what do you do well that helps your team be successful. If you were here for the goal mapping session, I want you to choose one of your challenge goals. It could be connecting 90% of your passes, or winning 80% of your tackles. One of those things that you identified as a challenge goal, pick one of those. And then for that first bit here, it says, create a specific scenario as detailed and using as many senses as you can, where you are either displaying your greatest strength as a soccer player, or where you're displaying one of those challenge goals, and then make it lead to something good like a goal. So really, you get to be the what do you call it? The author. You get to be the author here of your own little mini story, and try to use as many senses as you can, and try to make it as detailed as you possibly can. Involve other people. How does the goal happen? If you're a goalkeeper, how does the save happen? Or maybe an assist. Probably not a goal, but it's always possible. That would be part 1. And then for part 2, and I'm going to have you girls do this in your own time because we only have a few minutes left here. But for part 2, you're going to describe a situation during a game when you are likely to become upset, overly emotional, or lose your cool. So probably don't need to prime you too much more on that. You can probably think of something like letting in a goal, giving up a penalty kick, maybe missing an easy chance, some of the things that we've discussed before. And then just same thing, create a specific scenario where something bad happens, but you are able to respond positively or in the way that you would like to, and then try to describe that. And then at the bottom here, it says commit to your imagery schedule. So how many minutes are you willing to commit to using imagery before each training session? And then it asks you to write down a number there. And then it asks you to put that in your phone. I think that's the easiest way. You look at your training schedule and then just put an hour before each training session, imagery, 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 2 minutes or even 1 minute, whatever it is. Put that in your phone or some other way that's going to help remind you. And then it says, how many minutes are you willing to commit to using imagery before each game? Maybe that's a little bit more. How many minutes are you willing to commit? And then again, put that in your phone or some way that's going to remind you, because otherwise, if you don't create a schedule and you don't commit to making it happen, it's going to be really, really easy to just have it be something that doesn't happen, that maybe you do once, but then doesn't happen again. And like we said, that's just not gonna have an impact, right? So you can't wait till the state cup final and go, oh yeah, Skylar taught us about imagery, I think I'm gonna do some imagery now. While that may possibly have a positive influence, it's not gonna have as great of an influence as if it's something that you've been doing for months. I think the state cup final is mid-May, so you've got a month and a half, I think, or 2 months or in that range to start working on this. So then when it's state cup final time, or it's President's Cup final time for the Orange players, or any big event later on this summer, US Club Regionals, you're going to be prepared to use that. Okay, so we only have a couple minutes here left, but I do want to stop and see if there's any questions that I can answer about imagery or about the worksheet or anything else.
Is there an amount of time that you would recommend for imagery, or is it just based on us personally?
Yeah, that's a great question, Izzy. I don't think that there's a right or a wrong answer to that. I mean, certainly like 30 minutes to me seems excessive. Even 10 minutes, I think, would probably be at the top of the limit that I would do personally, because I just don't think you'd have enough stuff to really be imagining or visualizing. But I think like 5 minutes, maybe even a couple minutes, is more than enough. Yeah, good question. Never been asked that question before. That's a really good one. Okay, so I'm going to wrap things up here. Just want to remind you that if you're looking for a recording of any of the sessions, I just have the 06 Girls Orange team schedule pulled up here. Obviously, you found the link here in the Team Snap event. And then tomorrow morning, I'm going to come back into these notes. I'll go into edit, and then I'll put in the link for the recording right in here. So tomorrow it'll say, click here to view the recording. I'll just cancel that because I'm not going to change anything right now. But that's how you can view the recordings of any sessions. It'll always be within the session's notes. Okay. Any questions, girls, before I let you go for the night? All right, if there's not anything, then I'm going to end the meeting here. If you want to stick on, I'll just stay on here for 5 or 10 minutes until the next one starts. You can stick around and ask me a question if you didn't want to ask in front of everybody. And you can always send me an email at sschultz@salvosoccer.org. All right. We'll see you next time. Good luck, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Gina.
For the first goal map, like I wasn't sure what to do about on the goal achievement strategies.
Oh, okay, sure. So the goal achievement strategies are some things that you're going to do in your own time, maybe before training or after training, that are going to help improve your challenge goals.
Okay.
So what did you choose for your challenge goals? Do you remember?
Yeah. For my challenge goals, I said make 75% of my shots, and my second one, I said take on defenders and keep possession 70% of the time.
Okay, nice. Those are excellent challenge goals. Your goal achievement strategies then are going to be like taking extra shots on goal before or after training, or taking defenders on, like maybe you're grabbing a teammate before training and taking her on 15 times, or, I can let you decide, what's going to be
Okay.
the right amount. But that's kind of the idea there, is taking your challenge goals and then figuring out how you're going to improve in those areas in addition to just being at training.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, Rose, did you have a question?
Sorry, no, I didn't. I accidentally came on.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.